그 안에 뭐 있어요?
응?
거기에 뭐 있냐고요.
아니,
근데 왜 봐요?
그냥 좀 봤다.
되게 신기하다.
뭐가?
얼마 전에도 어떤 아저씨가 여기서 이 구멍 속 들여다보고 있었는데. 그 아저씨한테도 물어봤었거든요. 왜 여기 들여다보냐고.
그랬더니?
뭐래더라? 맞아. 옛날에 여기서 자기가 했던 일이 생각나서 진짜 오랜만에 한번 와봤다. 그랬는데?
그 아저씨 얼굴 봤어? 어떻게 생겼어?
그냥 뭐 뻔한 얼굴인데?
어떻게?
그냥 평범해요.
The term the perfect scene, to many of you watching this, may be a bold, possibly even arrogant statement. Some of you may think that the Quicksilver slow motion scene is one of the best ever made. Some of you may think it's the Apocalypse Now beach scene. And the term the perfect scene would suggest that every other scene is inferior. But that's where you're wrong. This is my personal favourite scene. The way I see it, people have a favourite different scene, the way that people have different fingerprints. So today, I'm here to not force an opinion upon you, but try and attempt to bring you to my way of thinking. Let's begin. Before we begin to fully analyse this scene, we need to recognise the thing it came from, that being Memories of Murder, by Korean director Bong Joon-ho. In the film, Park Sang-kang-ho and Cho are two simple-minded detectives assigned to a double murder investigation in South Korea province. But when the murder investigation strikes several more times with the same pattern, the detectives realise that they are chasing the country's first documented serial killer. They have to rely on their basic skills, in essence, to try and catch him, and in the end the detectives, well, they inevitably fail. And they don't find the killer of the women, despite their efforts and even DNA evidence. They couldn't find him, which led me to my first point. The film ends where it starts. Now, to the regular viewer, and watching this for the first time, you might think that's just a normal thing, but I think it has a deeper meaning. See, we look at the same fields we did the very first scene where we saw the first detective. I think this is a metaphor for the fact that the detectives were never going to find the killer, purely because they ended where they started. And I think because Bong Joon-ho is very well known for his metaphors, and I think this is the first metaphor we see, and the last metaphor we see, is that they were never going to find him, and that is why they end on the same cornfields. This leads me perfectly on to my next point, which links into both topics, one of metaphors and two of looking back. There's a scene in this cornfield section where the detective walks over to a grid, which is where the first body was found in the film. This is another metaphor from Bong Joon-ho. Often in Bong Joon-ho films, such as in Parasite, in Mother, and in most of his films, he uses metaphors about Korean government and the circumstances in the country, and this is another one of them. As on top you can see a nice cornfield where the weather is always nice and crops are growing and everything looks nice and fresh and developing. And then he goes down to the lower level, the surface level, which appears to be dark, damp, dingy, and looks quite quiet and nothing much going on there. I think this is a metaphor for, in the past, people have accused the Korean government of putting on a fake, so also like putting on a face to show that everything in Korea is fine when in actual fact there's real class struggle. This is made more apparent by the fact that the first victim, the first body, is found underneath the grid. This is probably a metaphor for the Korean people feeling like they've been left in the dark by the government and they're being left on the surface level, where on top it seems to be the face of just growing, nothing there, and the growth in the country. Now this just all adds perfectly to the sense of looking back on Korea's history and looking back on the film that led to this final scene. Now I'm going to move on to the second part and the final part, which I would like to talk about the film's cinematography. Cinematography is tough to judge on its own because it can be hard to extract it from other powers of great visual storytelling. At the same time, every beautiful movie shows the same signature of talented director of photography as much as a filmmaker, and this scene is no different. In the establishing shot of the scene, the detective walks towards the camera in what is known as a cowboy shot. The shot then fades into a full shot, which is described as a frame of a character from head to toe, with the subject roughly filling the entire frame. The emphasis tends to be more on the action and the movement, rather than the character's emotional state. This is known as a devanné chanteur, which Bong Joon-ho often uses in his films, giving a feeling of someone has come to a resolvement, a feeling of resoundment, which is what the detective is feeling, and he has come to return to the first crime scene, although he has moved on with his life, showing a sense of resolvement in his character. I'd like to talk about the final frame and the final bit of this scene, where it's this sort of the detective's realization that they were never going to find the killer because it could have been anyone. As the girl described him, he looked normal. Now this is an amazing shot, and it really sums up how the detective is feeling, because Bong uses the use of extreme close-up. Extreme close-up is used to emphasize a small area or detail of the subject, such as the eyes, mouth. An extreme close-up of the eyes is called an Italian shot. That's called an Italian shot when it's close to the eyes. Its name is from Sergio Leone's Italian Western films that popularized the extreme close-up shot. But the extreme close-up shot here is to really emphasize not the eyes but the sort of mouth and his facial features, to show that moment of realization and to sort of resonate with the audience that they were never truly going to find the killer. In this conclusion, I just wanted to sum up everything we talked about and talk about the future of this channel. So I just wanted to say that I'd like to thank you for watching this video. These videos won't come out very often. It'll be maybe once every 2 weeks. They do take a lot of time to edit, and so I do appreciate your patience when about uploading these videos. But yeah, I really like this scene. I think that it's one of Bong Joon-ho's best scenes ever, and one of my favourite scenes of all time. And I hope now that I've shared this scene with you, you can go and watch the film and enjoy it yourself. yeah, that's all from me today. If you'd be kind enough to subscribe and like, that would be great. My next video is probably going to be do something about the Doctor Who series recently and how the fandom has sort of changed and turned against Doctor Who, and maybe we can explore more of that. So I hope you did enjoy the video, and I'll see you later. Bye.